So here we're going to take a look at some exercises and techniques that you can use along with the parts that we've shown you to play the tracks on the DVD. But hopefully you can also use these just to expand your own ideas as well. We're going to kick off with a way of playing the kind of syncopated fills you hear on several of these tracks, which will hopefully enable you to play them with a much more comfortable flow. So if our figure that we're going to take as our example sounds like this, 3, 4. You may intuitively play that using a right-left sticking throughout up to beat 4, like this, 3, 4. But it would possibly give it a better feel if you were to feel that as single strokes with the other notes removed. So if you were to, let's play this as alternating singles and just pick those notes out as accents. It would be like this. Now we can remove those unaccented notes and we're just left with that figure, and you'll feel that it now has a flow as it moves hand to hand. You can move that around the kit. You could also use that approach to play the kind of syncopated feel you'll hear in times like these, in the 7/4 feel. Here's an example of that, after 4. In the track The Pretender, there's this fast 16th note idea played between the bass drum and the snare. So that's an idea that's a useful one for playing fills and can be moved around the kit, playing 2 notes on the bass drum, 2 notes with the hands. Another way you could approach that, and a good little exercise for developing both the bass drum foot and double strokes in the hands, is moving that around the kit, but playing it in the same hand. So not playing right-left with the hands. So let's just move it around the 4 drums we've got here, and it would sound like this. We do the same with this hand. And we could alternate that too. So 2 in this hand, 2 in this hand. Or we could play the hands together. Another great application for that 2 with the bass drum, 2 with the hands combination is through triplets. It takes on a completely different feel. So let's step the hi-hat on 1 and 3 to give us some reference for the time. It would sound like this. 3, 4. Let's start that with the bass drum, which makes it a lot easier to finish that fill because we haven't got to play 3 consecutive notes there. 1, 2, 3, 4. The track The Pretender features this quarter note snare drum pattern, similar to the Motown feel. And a way of developing some independence between the bass drum and the right hand with that is using these over the bar line ideas. And so the first thing we can do is try to play this pattern on the bass drum. We're going to play 8th notes in this hand to begin with. And so our hand pattern is going to be this. And the bass drum is going to play this rhythm along with that. So. Working on an exercise like that should help in your ability to place the bass drum anywhere within a groove like that, where you've got the snare drum playing the double time feel. To add an extra element to that, you could also then play the right hand part playing exactly the same part as the bass drum. So we're no longer playing 8th notes here. Let's play this over on the ride cymbal as well. So we'll start the time going in the left hand, playing quarter notes, and then add this figure over on this side. So. Taylor often uses the bass drum within fills, usually playing it just before the snare drum note. So if you are thinking of a bar of 16th notes, something that you could practice to develop that would be to play combinations of right, left, right foot. And you can move those hands from that pan anywhere around the kit to get comfortable with that. So basically, the bass drum is playing the 4th of a group of 4 notes, like this. You could break the hands up between different sounds. The snare rack floor is always a good one. By adding the flam in there, we get what you could feel as a 3-beat figure, which would move across the beat and over the bar line. Let's hear that in context. In the track The Best of You, Taylor plays this triplet idea, moving between the snare and the tom, where the tom plays the last two 16th note triplets of the beat, and then the first note of the next group of 6. So in context with the time, it would sound like this. Another similar figure, which can be useful for moving ideas around the kit, is playing groups of 3 between the floor tom and snare. So you could start with 3 on the floor tom and then 3 on the snare, and it moves nicely between those 2 drums, like this. We could do that same move between the floor tom and rack tom. What you'll find with that idea is there are certain moves which aren't so comfortable. For example, if you start playing groups of 3 on the snare and try to move to the floor tom, you'll trip over yourself. So you need to be aware of the moves that are comfortable like that. So as I say, starting on the floor tom is a good one to try. Also at the end of the track, Best of You, Taylor plays the classic hand-foot triplet lick where we're playing right, left, foot. And he's voicing that between the snare, rack and floor tom with this move. At the end of the track, The Best of You, Taylor plays the classic hand-foot triplet, which is played right, left, foot. And Taylor moves the right hand between the snare and the floor tom, playing something similar to this. So once again, that's just right foot, left. However, it's also worth exploring the other combinations that can be had if we change the order of the notes around. For example, putting the bass drum first and then playing right, left. Or we could put the bass drum in the middle, which gives it a slightly different feel as well. So we're now playing right foot, left. This final example shows how you can expand one of the grooves that Taylor uses to help develop your four-way coordination. And so the basic feel we're going to play with the hands is eighth notes over here, and we're going to play this dotted eighth note figure with the left hand like this. So let's add the bass drum to that. We'll fill in the final eighth note with the left hand to give us continuous 16th notes now. So let's hear that along with the bass drum. So 3 great variations on that, which should really help develop you stepping the left foot on the hi-hat, would be to firstly try playing quarter notes with this foot whilst we play these other 3 voices. So that's going to sound like this. We could also play 8th notes. And finally, we could also play that with upbeat 8th notes in the left foot, which will sound like this. Hopefully you'll find these ideas useful for not only playing the tracks presented on this DVD, but also for expanding your own feel and groove ideas as well.